All right. Well, welcome everybody to the August um, advancement seminar. And so tonight, myself and Tom Wetzel are going to go about and talk a little bit about Scoutbook. In particular, one of the big things that they are looking at here is that there has been a transition in Scoutbook from Scoutbook to Scoutbook Plus. And we'll go about and we'll kind of talk about some of those different things. And then we're going to start off here with Tom Wetzel going through and doing kind of kind of talking about a few different things, and then I'll jump in with kind of a live demo, and we'll kind of look at some of the different items that we have in there. All right. And as we stated earlier, if you have any questions, please feel free to go about and put them inside of the chat, or else just kind of talk to us, via turn on your microphone and talk to us that way. So with that, Tom, why don't you go ahead and start taking us away, and then let me know as you want to go about and advance different slides.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pat. Yeah, we've been talking about a number of different issues related to Scoutbook. In fact, there are several recordings on the resource page in the PTAC website about various issues. So you have questions, you can certainly refer to that. But the number one issue that I think many of us have had presented to us is the whole idea of Scoutbook versus Scoutbook Plus. Where is it? They don't work together. How do we navigate that? And so we want to at least give you some basic idea, give you some resources, and there's quite a bit, but there's also a caveat connected with that. We'll have other opportunities to talk about other issues. So, don't think that we can't attempt to answer your questions that are non-Scoutbook related, plus related. First slide is I want to give you an overview what the differences are between Scoutbook and Scoutbook Plus, and then give you some tips about how to access and then use the various resources that are available. And then finally, answer whatever questions you have about Scoutbook, whether it's related to Scoutbook Plus or not. This is going to be a free-for-all, and so pepper us. And if we don't have the answer, we can get the answer, and we're going to have some help available for that as well. Next slide. Let's start with Scoutbook, and hopefully all of you are using Scoutbook to some degree. And that was introduced, it's been about 10 years since Scoutbook was first introduced, developed by a volunteer. And it was so successful, it would address some basic issues, and Scouting America then purchased it. And we've been working with it with 10 years. And there's really, it's designed to be a tool for advancement tracking, messaging, your unit calendar, activity logs, and reporting. It's your one-stop shopping for all things reporting about what's happening within your unit. Its focus is to provide you, unit leaders, both of the packs and crews and troops, for unit management and for advancement tracking. That's its focus. The status, it's still in use. Obviously, you are still using it, but it is being gradually being replaced by Scoutbook Plus. That's not going to happen next week or maybe even next year, but the trend is very clear. This is, the Scoutbook has been in operation for 10 years. Nothing remains the same. They've been tweaking at it for 10 years. There are still bugs to be worked out. There are still features that haven't been fully migrated or introduced. But now the feeling is that we need to go to an upgraded version. And that's what Scoutbook Plus is designed to do. But you'll be able to continue to use Scoutbook for the foreseeable future. But as we'll talk about, we want you to start transitioning to Scoutbook Plus. Next slide. Now, Scoutbook Plus, think of it as Internet Advancement 2.0. Its functionality is like Scoutbook is advancement tracking, but it has some enhanced features, including recurring events. It can be an editor for events, connected activity logs to events, something that Scoutbook can't do. So it has a lot more functionality than Scoutbook. That said, a lot of troops we know packs and troops do not use Scoutbook to its ultimate potential. They don't use certain aspects of it. They use it only for advancement tracking. But they don't use the calendar or use it to communicate with leaders, and that's perfectly fine. But the Scoutbook Plus focus is going to be hopefully a more modern and user-friendly interface for advancement and other key functions. And user-friendly, Scoutbook has not been user-friendly, as everybody knows. Having said that, however, what I can tell you, I've seen this repeated over and over and over again, is if you master Scoutbook, really truly understand it, it can make your life immeasurably easier than without it. So there's going to be an ongoing transition with some features still being ported in for the original Scoutbook. Next slide. Now the key differences, there are some significant differences. For one thing, Scoutbook Plus is now the designated platform for recording advancements and managing den and patrol activities. Scoutbook still has features that haven't been fully implemented and haven't been migrated into Scoutbook Plus. And a key difference is that Scoutbook Plus relies heavily on registered positions to control access, whereas Scoutbook has allowed for more functional access. That's been an ongoing issue. I can't get to Scoutbook Plus. Why not? Well, it's because probably that you're not one of the approved registered positions that is granting access. That's not going to change. But finally, here's another thing that you may not be aware of. The mobile app, both platforms are accessible through the Scouting mobile app, but only advancements are recorded within Scoutbook Plus. So if you're using Scoutbook right now for advancement, you need to start transitioning as quickly as possible, because that's where it's going to ultimately end up. And it's going to make your life a lot easier once you're able to do that. And it's going to take some work. And we're going to try to navigate some of the issues with respect to that, as well as give you a demonstration on where that is. So I'm going to turn it over to Pat, and we can get into specific demonstrations. But if you have specific problems, maybe we can address those in the demonstration. So don't feel compelled to wait. If you have a question, just type it in the chat and we can stop and address that. So I'm going to turn it back over to you. We've got a couple of things later, but let's get into the demos, Pat.
Okay, sounds good. Let me go ahead and kind of resize my screen here so we kind of get the screen kind of being shown up in here. So I'm just bringing this up inside of a just a browser. Okay, And so there's kind of the original login screen here for for Scoutbook. All right. And so this is one of the things that we would go to. And then if we hit over here, once we log in, this is kind of the traditional, screen that we would end up seeing, the dashboard that we would be seeing here inside of Scoutbook. And then, as you can see, over on the left side over here, where I'm kind of highlighting these different pieces, the different units that I am associated with, that I have access to in here. All right. So here's going to be some of the items that we have. And one of the big things that we want to kind of point out in here is that a lot of the stuff, particularly for the packs and the crews, that's for the most part already been transferred over to Scoutbook Plus. So in terms of that, so the people who are going through and then accessing, trying to do this with, if you're in a pack, you're probably not coming in through this particular window, or if you are, you're probably jumping over to the dashboard that's going to show up in terms of Scoutbook Plus. So with that, as we kind of jump over here, and there's kind of here, leave me signed in. Okay, so there's kind of the the dashboard that ends up looking at here in terms of Scoutbook Plus, and so we can kind of look down here at the the lower left hand side. It kind of a little tiny verbiage down there showing Scoutbook Plus, kind of indicating it in there. It's also shown up here at the top. So there's kind of the profile that we end up having with that. One of the things is that in terms of this particular profile, as we would come down here and look at the different units, etc., there's going to be some different stuff where it's kind of showing, and so it kind of shows those same units that I was associated with that we saw before, and how we would be able to go about and kind of work and deal with those in there. All right. So one of the things in here is that just kind of let me kind of jump into, I'll just kind of jump into a venturing crew real fast so we can kind of see some of the different stuff. So as I click on the different unit up here in the upper right, it kind of shows me which unit I am on, particularly if you are in multiple units or something like that. And one of the things that we would do here is that as we go down here and we kind of click on the roster, we would go through and we would kind of get different people who we would have access to in terms of those the different people. All right, so let me kind of jump over here. I'll grab on one person's their idea, and so here one of the scouts that's in that particular venturing crew, is if they were going to go about here and do any sort of awards or activities, okay, be able to go about and update the information for that particular scout, right here at this point. All right. If we're going to kind of do this, let me kind of jump over here. Let me jump over to a pack as well, so we can kind of see some of that different information in here. One of the things that happens with this is that for many of the different, I don't have direct access in terms of one of the things that was mentioned in there was that the functionality, okay, that was being shown. So I don't necessarily have direct access or control over a lot of the different people inside of here. There is one or two that we can kind of look at a little bit on here. But again, this is kind of showing again how we would go about and look at the different items, the different things that the scout would be inside of here, and then we could come down here and kind of start clicking on, oh, what are some of the different electives or required adventures that the scout would be working on in here. And so there's ways in which you can kind of go in there and trying to start marking down what they have gone through and done. So kind of the nice thing with with the way this is kind of set up in here, if we kind of go back to the profile, okay, we'll kind of look and see, we get some of the different history that the scout has already gone through and worked on. All right, and then also what are going to be some of the different things that that scout could be working on, and how would we go in there, and then as different requirements are done, leaders can go in there, click on that, and fill out some of that other information in there. All right, if we're going to come over here and look at the troop side, okay, to kind of look at some of the different advancement pieces in here. All right, so one of the things, if we were to go through here, and let's say if I were to click on a particular scout. Okay, so here's kind of showing, what this particular scout has gone about and kind of looked at over here. Other things they're noticing in here, you see a whole lot about this particular scout that's in there. If we wanted to see where they are currently at in terms of some of the different items, so here's kind of looking at the requirements moving forward on towards the rank in there, kind of looking at here with the different requirements for the star rank for this particular scout. Can kind of go through here and kind of work on them, mark them as, what is the completion date, approved, recorded, etc. And so those are the different pieces that we would kind of look at in there. If we were to kind of jump back over to Scoutbook, let me put down here again, continue. So we're jumping out of Scoutbook Plus. And so if we were to kind of come over here, let me kind of go to, that pack information. Okay. One of the things is that if we were to try to jump in and look at this information here, I believe it was the person we looked at before was in terms of one of the dens that was going to be inside of here. Okay, wait, well, looks like I grabbed the wrong den, I think. I think it's the other den that normally when I come in here, I always go about and hit on just the entire pack roster to make sure I get everybody in here with that. And so the other thing that we will notice on here is that with Scoutbook, the loading certainly seems to take a lot longer with stuff than we do in terms of Scoutbook Plus. So the responsiveness is certainly much better in terms of the newer system with that. But anyway, so if we're kind of coming over here and kind of looking at some stuff, it was Charlotte that we had gone about and looked at earlier. But if we kind of look inside of here with Charlotte, we'll kind of notice that this would be the information where we would have seen the all of the different ideas about doing what advancement and stuff would be, and we don't see those tabs in terms of here. So this is kind of indication that for a pack, that's already been transferred over. But if we do jump back and let's kind of go back over here, and this is one of the things where I kind of wanted to kind of follow up on what Tom had mentioned inside of here. If we come back over here to a troop, okay, and then we'll come over here and I always forget which, we'll bring up Atticus again, all right, is our person that we're going to go about and look at here. Okay. One of the things is that we are going to see as we would go through with the troop, we will actually see that we do have the ability to still enter in that advancement information in Scoutbook, but we don't have those for the packs. We don't have that for the crews because those have already been transferred over with those different things in here. So this is kind of going where we got in here and we have the particular scout. And then there would be all sorts of different links. If you remember when we were back there with Charlotte, it pretty much just allowed us to kind of see some of the information. For the most part, I believe it actually took us straight over to Scoutbook Plus in there. But if we went through here with Atticus's advancement, we would kind of see, we'd looked at it earlier in terms of what it looked like in Scoutbook Plus. Now we're going through here and we can kind of see, oh, and actually it did jump straight into Scoutbook Plus. Oh, okay. So that, I think that is a recent change, because if I remember right, I was looking at this within the last week or so, unless it was something about where I was looking at things with I just updated a Scout's Merit Badge, and we went through and we actually did that through the advancement link inside of here. So as I guess, all right, so that is, yeah, so it looks like the changes are happening. All right, so it looks like we are jumping over into Scoutbook Plus for a lot more of the information there. Okay, so that was, I was going to try to highlight the changes between the stuff that was still in transition. It looks like they've just gone about and transition stuff, because like last week at our troop meeting, I was using the Scoutbook version. All right, so so it was one of the things that we were happening there. All right, now a couple other things that we mentioned here. So this was kind of looking at the kind of recording the different advancement pieces. One of the items that Tom had also gone about and mentioned in here was the calendar. All right, so if we come over here and in terms of this, we have rosters, we've got profiles, different reports, etc. The calendar piece that we have is a really nice feature inside of here. For the most part, what we end up having in here is that the different units that I have here, there's pretty much we either have, we can kind of see here is that the crew is having set up here would be items that are listed in gray. It doesn't look like we have any crew things, activities put inside of here. The purple is going to show the different pack activities according to that unit that we have here. And then we would have here with the boys troop is in green. And one of the things is that I've kind of put down here, the girls troop would be in yellow. Our troop is actually part of the what is it? The combined pilot program. So right now we have been going about and we have all of the girls are actually combined into a single unit. And so PTAC, when they did that, they actually decided that, okay, they were going to have it as the boys unit was going to be the primary unit that was going to move forward with that. So this is why we don't see anything in yellow, because we are a combined unit with that. If I would go back to, a year or so ago, we would start seeing some things in green and some things for yellow for both, what was going to be difference between the boys troop and the girls troop. And so one of the nice things that we can have in here is that you'll notice that there are items inside of here, such as, hey, there's a court of honor right now going on. As it turns out, I'm actually missing my troops' court of honor. But we could come over here and in terms of this, we can go through here and edit the events and kind of look at some of the different stuff. And a few things what we can do is that we can go about and set up information in here to go about and to use this for messaging. Okay, we can add individuals, we can send out invitations. And so we can go about here and automatically set up reminders and notifications of different upcoming events that are occurring in there. So those are some things that are really nice, is how we would go about and run and deal with this different ideas with that. And if we actually come over here to the Cub Pack, the Cub Pack goes about and actually uses that slightly a little bit, better in terms of some of the different stuff in here. So they're having here, they're kind of their back to school barbecue. If we kind of click on that particular event, all right. And so here's a couple things that they had set up in here with the different event reminders. Okay. And so so it's basically saying down here is that, what are the different days that they went through and they set up when they were going to go about here and setting up these event reminders. So those are different emails, etc., that would be able to go out and be sent out and work with the different pieces in there. All right. So those are some ideas that we want to look at in there. Now, another thing that also is in here is reporting different things. So one of the things I'm going to jump over here is one of the other items is this idea of an activity log. And so with the activity log, let me go jump back over here to our boys troop. Okay. And so I want to come back to July. And one of the things that we're going to have here is that we'll also show, during this particular time, during July, we had, our troop was up at summer camp. And so we were able to go in here and get on our calendar that there was, we were going to be out here camping. And then if we were to kind of look at this edit in here, we'll kind of see it allows us to go about and select who were the different people who all attended. We went through here and it talks about that this is kind of a camping information. So as we kind of look down in here, it keeps track of how many days and how many nights were camped in there for both our youth and adult. And one of the things that this ends up being used for is that this will end up being reported and then brought directly in if we're going to go about and do reports such as OA eligibility or different, for the first couple of ranks, how many different overnight activities do you have? This will go through and kind of keep track of that information for us to go about and to kind of show with these activity logs. Let's see. So let's kind of put down here. Let me cancel or yes, I want to get out without changing. All right. And so the primary activity logs we have here, we've got here camping. We'll also notice down here a service project. So one of our scouts was working on his Eagle project. And so there was recorded information with that. And so if we would have here with our activity logs, For the most part, camping, hiking is also another one that will be tracked, and then service hours. So those are kind of the three big activity logs that we're going through and we're looking at this point, right? I've
Hey,
kind of gone
Pat,
about, yes.
so if you had like for your summer camp entry
Hmm.
there,
Yeah.
if you had a couple adults who split the week, you would have to set that up as a separate event.
No, what you can do with that is that this will come down here and you can, so this is setting it up as a group, okay? But you could come over here where it says individual, and you could come down here and you can go through here and say, oh, like, let's see, was there anybody who wasn't there the full, actually, I think this year, I think everyone was there the full time. But if they weren't, you could come inside of here. And so this kind of sets it up, gives the default of everybody for that full time. But if for some reason we said, okay, hey, there was going to be a certain group of people that was only going to be there a couple of, part of the time, okay, we could come down here and change that off in terms of that. And so we could set off that information inside of there. So if somebody does, particularly for summer camp, you've got some leaders who are, two leaders are sharing half a week, or, each one doing the first half, one doing the second half, or else, we always have had some sort of scouts that, all right, they're not able to get to the camp out for the full time. They, they got to miss one of the nights or something like that. How would we go through and deal with that? So it does go through and allow that to be done where you can do it, kind of split those in there. So, right, you do not have to go about and say, okay, these were all the people who did it the full week. And then here is the people who did it for 5 days. And here were the people who did it for 4 days. Because that would be, certainly could be very, cumbersome and hard to keep track of all those different things. Yeah.
Okay, that's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. So no, this the Scoutbook Plus is, Tom was mentioning in there. There's tons and tons of features. I'm certainly not going to say that I am in any way an expert on this. Um, but as you start getting into and you start diving into the different stuff, once you kind of get used to it, you kind of see, okay, this is how what's happening and how to move around. Normally, even with features, I'm not going to say an expert on. I can kind of work my way through, and it's not too hard. But it's once you've kind of done it once or twice, it's normally pretty simple and easy to kind of keep going and keep working on those pieces. And
Hey, Pat, a
yes.
question. I noticed you jumped between Scoutbook and Scoutbook Plus. Did you have, are there separate logins for each one?
No, so the logins are exactly the same. So right now, what the way it's set up in there is that they end up using the SSO, which was like, what the heck is SSO? Single sign-on. So they end up using the exact same database for all the user information in there.
Okay, the reason why I was asking is because I'm able to see everything like you were showing in the Scout book, but I
Mhm.
was just wondering if, say the unit wasn't using Plus yet, would you still be able to see that, or does the administrator have to turn on Plus?
I believe that the Plus is pretty much ready to go for everybody at this point in time. I don't believe that. Again, I'm certainly not the main administrator in our troop or with that, but I'm pretty sure that this is just kind of what is being shown for everybody at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Now, a couple other things we also want to go in here is that if we go into the report section, okay. Now, one of the things is that with the different reports, okay, I got to make sure that I'm on what level of reports we want to go about and see, because I end up having, due to some of the other stuff that I do around council, I've got way more reports than most people really care about in terms of different things in there. But one of the big things that we'd mentioned in here was going to be, we'd mentioned here like our activity report. And then here's like the OA eligibility report. We're going to show this one here more or less to kind of show it as it pulls in some of those different information in there. So it goes about and kind of keeps track here. Of course, one of the things with this is that it is probably way too small for anyone to go about and see what in the world that we are looking at in terms of this. So let me see if I can make that screen, that the font size a little bit larger, so we can kind of see the different pieces in there. We have the ability to download our information both in terms of a, PDF and a comma separated value files. So those would be something, the comma separated value files would be things that we could pull into like an Excel spreadsheet. So depending upon how we wanted to go about and use those in there. And so here's kind of, this has been using the information that we would have already entered in, keeping track of those different camping nights that we would have to kind of pull in to kind of feed this report in here. One of the other nice things about this is, let's say that, you know, where this is kind of looking at, you know, for the OA eligibility report, you kind of have to look and see, okay, what's it going to be on the date of the, you know, whenever you're going to do this election. And so most of the reports that we're doing, you can kind of have some sort of a date filter range. Okay. So let's kind of go through here, assuming that, what is it? The OA election season is, you know, February or January through March. Let's say we're looking to do this somewhere in early February. So one of the things that it would do is that it would go about here and then update that information. And one of the things I got to remember, I can't remember whether some of Ellie's nights, I think her numbers might have jumped down from 20 to 17 because it had, you know, you have to have, it keeps track of it just in the last 2 years with that information in there. So this is why it only has an election date. It doesn't have a start to finish because for this one, it's always, you're looking at it for a 2-year period, but it automatically updated with that particular piece. And so a couple things that we might have in here is, let's say that if I have here for like this particular scout, Logan, okay, he's going to be working on second class. He's really close to getting first class. Oh, but he's at that particular in February, he's only going to have you know 8 of the 10 days that he would need. So that might be a way we could look ahead and say, hey, Logan, if you want to, you know, be eligible for the election, you know, go about and make sure you get in another weekend camp out or a 2-night camp outs or something like that. So those are some different things that they end up having with this. And so if we, let's see, jump back here, it's closing that off. Go back to the dashboard. I want to come back to other reports. There we go. So wait a minute. There's the report screen. And I wanted to come down here and the troop recognition report. Okay. Of course, one of the things with the troop recognition report, yeah, here's going to go about it. It says kind of a start to end. Okay. And so if we were to kind of click through here and run this, since there is a court of honor going on here, this is oftentimes one of the big reports kind of looking at for the court of honor. So it is kind of showing in here different scouts, what the different awards they should be getting at the latest court of honor. And so hopefully these are all the different things that our scouts and our troop are earning tonight with different things with that. So those are some different ideas and kind of running on those different reports and some of the nice functionality with this. Okay. And so those are a few things in terms of that. Anything else that people might want to go about and to look at and to see?
Yeah, what is the finance? Just curious, what does the finance report show?
The finance report, it basically has, this would be something that you would want to include. Your unit, first of all, has to go about and use this. I am not sure that our unit does. So I think our unit is going to have pretty much nothing kind of shown inside of here. But it has where you could track incoming payments and then you know, into the troop, and then kind of outgoing payments that you might have for different campouts, etc. With that is that currently the person who this is kind of somewhat new with Scoutbook Plus. Our unit had our treasurer had currently kind of had their own system kind of working on stuff because Scoutbook really didn't have such a feature. The feature was not very nice. So we haven't gone about and really done anything with this particular thing in here. So if we kind of run through here, you know, they're showing absolutely, I clicked run and there's no information. So our unit's not actually going through and doing this, but it is things where you would have some different things where you could set up and kind of keep track of payments in and kind of payments out, so to speak, as you're doing, okay, this is happening for different campouts, etc.
So for like the calendar, does that give you reminders that go out every so often?
Right. So one of the things now here, this is kind of showing us where the information with that. And so if we were to come up here and this is, I believe, is just kind of showing us, this is a report over the calendar, right? So there's kind of showing, this is kind of looking at an attendance report. Did I hit the right one? Yeah, I think so. We have not been tracking different attendance at troop meetings. We were doing that for a while, but we kind of got out of that. Let me actually jump back to where the calendar is at. So there's the calendar up here. And so we could go about here and say, all right, let's say that next month, okay, let's actually come over here because we should have here where there should be, yeah, there's like the camporee, okay. So let's go in here. And so hopefully I won't screw this up too much with our camporee. So now I'm in here with editing our, for the camporee, what is going to be the different things we would go through and set up. So here's trying to set up different information in here so we can have stuff for the the RSVP. So we can actually go about and send out information. Scouts can reply directly, okay, to this inside of here. It's going to show in here, we haven't actually set up that there's going to be camping, but we should go through and set up that camping will be occurring during the camporee in there. In terms of our pieces, as you might notice in here, I'm not necessarily the one who always goes about and does all this information. Okay. But if we would come over here and we could say, hey, all right, so if we're looking to go through and invite different people, okay, we could put down here who we would want to go about and invite to this. One of the other things that was oftentimes doing here is it says, hey, we want to go about and auto add all of our youth and all of our leaders, okay? And then if we were going to deselect, we can kind of pull off some of those different people in terms of those, all right? So there's going to be some of the different items that would kind of go through here, and we could put down there and please come back. You can edit them, okay, and so they're looking at yeah, oh, here's where it has here where it says, this says disable reminders for the event. Okay, so if we wanted to not have that, we could put down here and we could say, hey, we wanted to go about and have a reminder however many days or weeks before the event. Okay, and we could put in here, add in a reminder, and this will go about and help us generate emails to go through and deal with this. And so when we saw that in terms of the pack does go through and use this. We saw that they had different reminders. They were set up doing with 3 reminders, which was what was that? I think it was 3 weeks out, 1 week's out, and then 2 days out, if I remember right, is kind of the general way that the pack was going through and looking.
So you have some flexibility there. That's good.
Right. So yeah, you have these different ideas that you could go about here, and you can, your troop can kind of decide, hey, how do we want to go through and set this up and work with these things with those pieces in there. All right. So those are some different stuff. And pretty much what it does in here, if we were to actually go back and let's look at kind of jump back over here to the Cub Pack and go back here and let's take a look at, what the, all right. So let's look at the Cub Pack. All right. So they're kind of showing in here. So they've got the different, so they've got, oh, it's looks like a month out, a week out, and then a few days beforehand is where they're looking to have that. And then so those so they're looking at here is that the description, that would be something that they would go about and have sent out in that email. Okay. As they would go through and do some of those pieces in there.
So if you set up your troop meetings as or pack meetings or whatever as events, you could use this to track attendance.
Yes, yeah, and we were doing that in our troop for a while for some stuff with that. One of the things that where the hard part ended up kind of, oops, what did I think it just logged me out because I haven't been in here enough. The, suppose I can
Could
log
you
back.
give your scribe access to do that?
That was, well, that was one of the problems that we were kind of running into, was that the scribe was logging in under my information, okay, and or I would bring my own, like a tablet in there, log in myself, and then hand it over to the scribe to go through and to look at that information, um, in there. So that was kind of how that was done. And uh we were doing this for a while, but then we weren't really using the information. And so, as with anything, if you're not really using stuff, you have a tendency to you know, yeah, all right, no one noticed that we missed it and didn't say anything, and then so we just kind of fell out of the habit of doing that.
Yeah, I was just thinking of, how we talk a lot about the Scout is active.
Right. And that was part of the thing where our unit was using that to help track those pieces. And also what we were kind of looking at was our unit has particularly for positions of responsibility, okay, if you are a patrol leader, how often, you should have some, if you're going to say you did it, well, how often were you at the patrol meeting or the troop meeting doing that. And so we were we were playing with this as using this to track that information. And the information was there. It was we ended up kind of not necessarily circling back on using that information. So it kind of fell back on, kind of our troop to not properly use it, I guess.
So when you're done with reports, could we look at the merit badge counselor view?
Sure. And in all honesty, I have never actually came through here and looked at this from this particular standpoint. I've always gone about and whenever I have done, all right, so where am I going here? Profile, actually, this is just, it didn't give me any sort of different stuff over here.
No, I saw it on the other screen
Yeah,
where
so
you were,
right, so in the dashboard over here, so this is
that's where.
kind of, yeah, it has, send message for counselor, edit badges for merit badge counselors, okay? And so this is where, this is back into the original Scoutbook Plus, or the original Scoutbook, where we would have different things in here, and I got to remember. Okay, there. It's like, okay, which merit badges do I remember that I'm currently working with somebody on? Okay. And so we'll bring up here Victor with that. Yeah, I think Victor started on this, and then we never got any farther with doing anything with stuff with things. But anyway, so here was going to be the idea that where Victor was connected to me in terms of this, and then I would be able to go about here, and as he was working on stuff, clicking off these different pieces. Actually, if I remember right, I think this was actually set up so it could be used as an example with different pieces in here. So that's, if I remember right, that was where why I had this set up with Victor in
So,
there.
but this looks like it's in the original Scout book.
It still is, yeah. So it doesn't look like that connection, this part of the connection has been moved back to or moved into into the Scoutbook Plus in there. All right. One of the things, if we do go back to where we have here the forums, okay. The forums here, this is kind of where they disseminate a lot of the different information, scouting discussion forums update, FAQs for scouting forums. So a number of the different items that they're looking at are discussed in here. Okay, and you can do some, trying to figure out, oh, we want to talk about how to do, the internet recharter. You can kind of look at some of the different information with that. In terms of the ideas, or if we wanted to search on here, I want to know about, connecting merit badge counselors and also in recharter log, let's put in, let's count. Something like this. So it kind of comes up and it gives, the different forums and different questions that people have been asking and allowing you to kind of jump back and forth to those different discussions and how things have been done with those pieces in there. So there's, kind of some of the different stuff with the forums with that. Yeah. So, and then here, I guess there's a click where it takes you back to the legacy piece, with those. One of the things I suppose that I should mention in here is that in order to go about and to connect somebody in here, and actually, now I guess I'm actually was about to make something in here, but since we might have to do that. I think last time I did it, I've always done it inside of the Scoutbook and now it's Scoutbook Plus. Because if you noticed in here where I was kind of editing the stuff for merit badges, okay, for public speaking here, Victor's actually a member of my troop, so I could just have gone directly inside of it. But Cassie Jewell is not, and so that had to have been a unit leader had to make that connection. In order for us to do those different connections in there, where you would go about and have done this prior, you would have gone to the, under the, in terms of the merit badge stuff here. But as we were noticing, actually, as we're kind of put in there before, when I started to click on the advancement piece, it took me directly into Scoutbook here, or Scoutbook Plus, I should say. So we'll have to see how we're doing this, and since I probably already know it's going to jump me directly into Scoutbook Plus, I really don't need to deal with this. But let's say if I wanted to go about here and take Atticus, okay, and so let's see, before it used to be in here where you would go about and into the advancement, it would have a spot where you could start a merit badge. Let's see if I can come through here, and what I want to do is maybe, Carol, I'll set up Atticus to work with the merit badge for you. And let's see, so this is awards, merit badges. Okay, so let's kind of look at here where we have, so it's showing that. Start a new merit badge. All right, Carol, what are you a merit badge counselor for?
Well, the most current one, I'm working with a kid on pets.
Okay, so we're gonna go do pets. We'll find pets down here, and we'll see if I can get this kind of rolling in here. What's the latest thing in here? All right, so we'll click on here with pets. Okay. So there would be things where we had in this. So this was kind of definitely stuff that we saw before. Here is going to be the unit leader signature where we can go about here and says, yes, as a unit leader, I approve that this scout will go about here and can work on this merit badge. So I've gone through here and done that. All right. One of the nice things that just I'm going to notice with this piece in here is that in the old Scoutbook, when I would have clicked this before, it normally took me all the way back to the troop's original page, the home page for the troop, and then I'd have to go back and kind of work my way back through all those different pages to get in there. So it's really nice that it didn't really jump us off to those pieces in here. Okay, so here it has here, no merit badge counselor is currently assigned with this youth. And if anybody has a, let's see, select show a pet, add a photo, assign one in Scoutbook Legacy. Okay, so but the way that I knew how to do it in Scoutbook Legacy was through the advancement section, which took me directly here.
Well, that's a puzzle.
Yeah, that right, exactly. Unless there was a different. Actually, I want to go about it. Let me look at one more thing if I can come back to. Let's see. I want to go back here to Atticus. We could come down here and either into. Let's see.
Click on his merit badges, Atticus's merit badges.
Oh, merit badges. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. All right. So there's where we actually have. Okay. So here was it. I was thinking the merit badges were underneath the advancement. I was looking at the wrong spot in there. Right. All right. So if we're gonna come over here to this, so it looks like, yeah, here's gonna be a spot where they have not completed this all the way. Okay. And so here would be to invite the counselor. All right. So Carol is one of the advancement chairs for our in our district in here, or in
Council.
TriStar, which Carol, which district? Let's see. So as you can tell, there's he has worked with the whole. Where it was?
Does
Oh,
it
here it is. Add a
show
connection.
those in some kind of an order? Is it like it shows your district first or any kind of?
Those the people we had in there. Those are all the people who Atticus is currently connected with. So those were a
Gotcha.
lot of the different adults who are currently in the unit, and also some of the different people who have been connected with merit badges with this. All right.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. So we want to come through here, and I got to remember this always. All right. I got to remember there's like 2 or 3 things we have to make sure. What is it? Include merit badge search for by inputting name and email or name and member ID. Okay, so I know that we have to get in here with 2 different STIEVE, right? Making
Good
sure.
job.
All right. Well, I knew there was an extra I in there. I'm not going to remember your email, Carol. I don't think.
Well, it's Carol WST.
Okay. Oops, I can't spell this one. Carol WST at
At
Gmail.
sbcglobal.net.
SBCglobal.net. Okay, so we're going to put this inside of here. I think we put down here, and then now we're going to do a search.
Oh, there I am.
Yeah, there we go. So we would come down here and run down here and say, hey, we can go about here and invite Carol to work with this particular scout on there. I'm actually not going to go about and click this because Atticus might freak out all of a sudden and wondering when did he start working on Pet's merit badge and that if he were to notice that before I told him, he might be concerned. So with that. But yeah,
No, that's great though. It was nice to see this. Thank you.
yeah, and one of the hard parts though is that the merit badge counselor can't make that connection. It has to be somebody from the unit who has this authority. So to go through and deal with this. And so since I am the one of the ASMs with this particular troop, I'm able to go about and I have that particular authority right now. So all right. Any other stuff that we wanted to look at or we thought we wanted to see? Kind of with that. So here's kind of showing those things in here where, you got some of the stuff on one side, some of the stuff on another, and it definitely does make it kind of a bit of a pain, as we're trying to go through and deal with this, but we kind of have to figure out, okay, what is the, as we're making this transition, they're getting different pieces, testing them out, moving them over. Those are some of the things that they're working on with that. So
Hey,
it is,
Pat,
yeah.
one question. I know for someone like some of the awards, they had ways in Scoutbook to be able to log it. Now, like Nova Counselor, Supernova Mentor, I don't know if that had ever been added in under the legacy. I don't know if anybody else had noticed that or not. But you could record once the kid earned it or received it up to a certain point. I don't know if it's still in there.
Yeah, so let's see. So we got here with the awards. Yeah, and so what this ended up doing, so if you notice what occurred here, it jumped me straight into Scoutbook Plus. So that was something that in the so it looks like, from the original Scoutbook, it's no longer doing it there. And then if we were trying to run through stuff, since you mentioned the Nova Awards, I'm going to go about and see if we can.
I see it has the international scouting recognitions too. That's good.
Yeah, so here's some of the different pieces in here.
Keep going.
NISA, outdoor ethics. I didn't see. Did I
Yeah.
miss Nova, or am I just?
Uh, they may have taken it out because of it now, not, but that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah, you that seems a little goofy with that. But so again, here we would have um, if someone had done well, let's just kind of look down here. If they were they're toting, they did their fireman chit. Okay. So
Do
clicking on that,
do you have a search button?
yeah, let's go back and see if I can find where that if that would be in here. Yeah, so this is saying search by name.
Just
Uh,
say STEM Nova.
yeah, it looks like it's not coming up with. Yeah, so it looks like here I got the ST in there. It looks like it's doing autocomplete.
Okay.
So we have here historic trail, so it's looking like it's getting the ST out of historic. Um, you know,
What about Scoutbook Legacy? Does let's
yeah, let's look.
they may have unprogrammed that.
Yeah, so it looks like here for the Scoutbook Legacy, I think it just jumps you all the way back to.
Now, if you look at the awards under awards, or what you can log in,
Well, when we did that, that was how it jumped me straight into here. So as I went through and I went to a troop roster, grabbed one of my scouts. Um, as you're noticing now, yes, Scout Book was very slow and cumbersome.
yeah,
So definitely a even if it gets rid of that particular piece, um, all right. So then
yeah,
when we came over here, we'll go back to Atticus. As we're noticing here, and I'm trying to go down here and look at, so it looked like when I went to the
awards. Click
awards,
on awards.
so if we end up, not that you guys are going to be able to see this down here at the bottom because it
But
has in here, it goes to advancements.scouting.org, which is a Scout Book Plus. So as I'm clicking on here, it's taking me to the Scout Book Plus stuff in there.
what about the right arrow?
The right arrow is doing the same thing. It looks like. Let's see. The right arrow, it's not showing up for as long as I wanted to. Yeah, it looks like it's going to the same thing. When I go to the merit badges, it keeps in Scout Book Plus. Advancement, it's going to
It may be advanced. See it with advancement. What?
the advancement takes us over to Scout Book Plus. Awards is Scout Book Plus. Merit badges is still Scout Book. Leadership is still Scout Book. Activity logs is Scout Book Plus. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of goofy with that.
Yeah. So it looks like they've completely unprogrammed all of
Mm-hmm.
that because at one time the different Nova, Supernova
Yeah.
stuff was all in there.
Yeah. And so now one of the things, since we're here, I'm going to go about it. We'll click on the reports real fast. I don't know how many people are familiar with, I always tell the people, as you're going about and getting ready for your Eagle, you can click on the Eagle application. Not that Atticus is very close to doing this, but, we'll go about here and automatically start generating this. It'll download the file here. And so there's the information that it kind of set up for Atticus. And again, pulling in what were the completed merit badges. We're noticing here Atticus is only first class right now, so not really that close to getting the Eagle application or getting stuff in here. But it definitely goes through here and it shows,
A
some of the
question
nice bits and
question
pieces.
for you on that.
Yeah.
So like on the Eagle merit badges, if where there's like two or three options, does it line out the one that isn't used,
Um,
or do you have to manually do that?
that one,
I'm
I
gonna
thought it
say no.
automatically did that. I got to remember.
Really?
I got to remember with this one because I did one last week for one of the other scouts in our troop. He's just about ready to hit Eagle. Let me see if I can bring. We'll jump back here, and we'll
Yeah.
look at Eli's in a second here. And I can't remember when we downloaded it last week whether it. I think it lined them out. I'm trying to remember. I was looking at this last week with that. Um,
Okay.
it's probably sitting somewhere in my downloads. I could probably find it. Might be quicker to go find it other way, but we'll go this way so we can kind of see that whole report again. All right. So we'll get to Eli.
If he had had a position of responsibility, does it also fill that in?
Yeah, it does. If your troop keeps track of that position of responsibility, and so if we look here, I think it's since Atticus was not a um was not Life Scout, I think it didn't put that in here. Yes.
Yeah, there it
Yeah, so
does line it out.
yeah, so
Okay.
we can go about, we can see it's lined out in there. And then here, yeah, it does showing here with Eli, he's an instructor for our troop. And it kind of showing, okay, from the starting off with the day of his Life Scout Board of Review. So that's kind of has the start date in there, and he is still, being a Life Scout or being an instructor in our troop. He's had that, for a year now, with
It's
that.
really nice.
Yeah, so that is really nice in there. I can remember telling one time I told a scout about this after he had already spent many hours pulling in all the data and typing it all in, and uh, this he was a definitely a hunt and peck typer with stuff, kind of one fingers or whatever it was, and he when I showed him this, he was like going, I really wish you would let me known that 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Hey,
So,
your friend, wanted you to learn how to type, right?
right. So this is something, it's always kind of good to kind of pass, show this along in here is just one of the different reports. One of the nice things that the Scout book has in there. But here would be again a lot of the different the reports and the logs, incomplete merit badges. If you have, you can kind of show you, right, what merit badges might have been started, had stuff going on in there. And so, yeah, we kind of just went through when we were, using Eli here, and it looks like currently just space exploration is kind of outstanding at this point in time for him. So, all right. All right, so we're beyond our 1 hour period. Any other questions or thoughts that we want to have?
Switch back to to my slides, Pat.
All right, so we're back to here, and then so that was where we're going, and then we get our next one in here is kind of our wrap up slides.
Yeah.
We got final thoughts.
First of all, obviously, a lot of your advancement information is already going to be in Scoutbook Plus, but to the extent that you can complete the transition, start it. This is something that is I think all of the advancement chairs are pushing, or I certainly do in my district, which is make sure that within your unit you have at least 2 people who are trained to use Scoutbook and Scoutbook Plus. The reason is pretty obvious. If you are the advancement chair and you're comfortable with it, and all of a sudden you change jobs or you have to move, you're going to have to start from scratch. So you want to start having a bench to be able to step in, when somebody is not available. There are a lot of tutorials online. There's the scouting forums, and but some of them are very outdated. So you want to make sure that you rely on the most recent tutorials. And if you run into problems, you can always contact your district advancement chair. In my district, I have trainers who we can set up a one-on-one tutorial via Zoom and walk you through the process if that's necessary. There's one other slide in here, or 2 slides. Next slide. This is actually a screenshot from scouting.org, the national pound on Scoutbook. If you go to Scoutbook, you're going to see just a ton of material. And all of these are very valuable. Getting started with Scoutbook, introduction to Scoutbook Plus for Scout packs, getting started with Scoutbook Plus with introductions to Cub Scout packs, Scoutbook user and unit management, All of these have very valuable information, including some tutorials. However, to make it a little easier, next slide. Here are the specific ones that, particularly if you are a Cub Scout leader, they're very good. The first one is scouting.org/resources/scoutbook. That'll get you to a lot of this information. But then you start going through help.scoutbook.scouting.org. You'll get even more information. You'll getting started with Internet Advancement 2.0. Knowledge scouting.org/knowledge base introduction to Scoutbook Plus for Cub Scout packs. That's what we reference. All of these are just invaluable, and they are the most recent tutorials. That's why it's better to start here rather than you go on to Scouting Forum or just Google, and you're going to come up with a lot of information. Some of it is valuable, but look for the dates. Make sure that it's at least in the last year or so. Otherwise, you might be running into problems, things that don't work as they do now. So that's just a caveat.
So Tom,
Yes.
hey, I just one thing to follow up with you and Pat and everybody else. I was in Scoutbook Plus and I went in under my profile and did reports and ran the report, and all of the different types of awards did show up, like the Novas and the religious and all of that stuff. So it does show up
Great. Okay.
as an FYI for everybody. And it listed by Scout.
All right. Any other questions or anything like that? The link that you were sent came from the PTAC Advancements website. If you want me to forward off these slides to you, I certainly can. You can particularly you can go about and you can get these links of all those different URLs to go check on stuff if you wanted to look at those. So you could just kind of reply to that particular thing, just say ask for a copy of the slides, and I can go through and send you out the information that we had here with those things. And then this and all of our advancement seminars on the council webpage. If you look under advancement, and I think if you scroll down to the bottom, it has a link to all the different the recordings that we have done for this and other topics in there. This one will probably sometime within the next I'll say month and a half will be up there. Main reason for saying that is that we're coming into camporee season, and Amanda's the one who normally puts it up there, and she's kind of in full-blown camporee mode right now. So I'm guessing that it might not get up there until after the camporee. So with that, if nobody else has any questions, then we'll wish everybody a good evening. And thank you, Tom, for putting the slide deck together and for guiding us through all the different stuff.
Thank you, Pat, and thanks for everybody attending.
Yep. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.